A new feature focus for Jurassic World Evolution 3, all about the new terrain tools, including deep water for our dinosaurs to swim in. Let's analyze the new footage, frame by frame. First things first, it must be said, Jurassic World Evolution 3 looks so gorgeous, and I think no footage has shown that off better than some of the shots in this feature focus. And I'm happy my personal favorite dinosaur, the Stegosaurus, is getting some of the spotlight this time. As always, I scoured the background of every shot to see if they accidentally snuck some new dinosaur reveals in the distant habitats, but unfortunately that's not the case. I did see that Frontier totally stuck a family of Ketzes in this single aviary dome. Hey Evo, look here, pretty path. Ooh. While the Japanese biome is beautiful, I'm glad we're seeing more and more of the tropical biome as well. Something odd I noticed in this shot is that not all of the buildings are connected to path, or at least they don't seem to be. We know from past info that we have a new natural path type, but this zipline has an entrance facing a cliff, and this bungalow has staircases leading directly into the water. I think it's just a case of nice staging for the purpose of the shot. I think if we tried to do this in our parks, we'd be met with a notification at the top. The bungalows have walkways around them, and while these are part of the building, we know that each building is constructed out of individually placeable pieces, and at its core, it's just a grey box. Everything around it is stuff we can manipulate, deconstruct, and rebuild piece by piece. It makes me wonder if guests will be able to interact with these walkways to access the entry of that grey box. If they can, then that would mean guests should be able to navigate walkways and by extension bridges that we can custom build anywhere in the park. You know me, I'm always looking for clues that bridges might be more than just decorative. However, as I said, these buildings don't seem to be connected. They were placed to look pretty, not to be accessed by guests. My vigil continues. To bridge or not to bridge? That's the question. We also have a feature focus on modular building coming this month. Maybe that will finally let us see how guests will interact with the things that we build. Let's move on to the actual terrain tools. We've seen these tools in action in brief clips before, but I'll use this moment to go through the options in more detail and point out just how many more options we have compared to Jurassic World Evolution 2. The current game allows us to raise, lower, flatten, and smooth. The new terrain tools have raise, lower, flatten, an option to flatten out the bottom of an incline and the top of an incline, roughen, smooth.
Rough, smooth, rough, smooth.
A function to soften the bottom edge of a cliff and the top edge of a cliff, and two tools for creating a ramp. My first gripe with this feature focus, and yes I have a couple, is that they only use 3 of the options. Raise terrain, lower terrain, and create a ramp. 2 of these we've seen before. It doesn't show most of the options. It doesn't explain what the different function is between the 2 ramp tools. How does this one work? And we've seen them use this terrain option in a path clip, but it doesn't really explain what makes this tool different from the regular flattened terrain tool. Moreover, we don't see them adjust the radius, the intensity, or the slope when using the tool, giving us no reference for how much of a difference these sliders are actually going to make. And what does fall off do exactly? These are the kinds of questions I had hoped the feature focus would answer, but it doesn't. And in case you are wondering, not in the voiceover either.
Moving mountains is surprisingly easy with the tools available. Build upwards to add elevation to your park, or dig down to create impressive valleys and canyons, with rocky cliffs or ramps to form gradual inclines.
We can speculate based on the icons what these options will do exactly, but it would have been helpful if the feature focus had just shown it. And it doesn't because there's no time. They've given these feature focuses less than 2 minutes. They have too much to show in too little time. And the solution was, okay, we'll just show less. When I think the solution should have been, we'll take more time. Frontier applied a lot of their Planet series to Jurassic World Evolution 3, but not the marketing strategy. Planet Coaster 2 had deep dive episodes explaining the mechanics in videos ranging from 15 to 35 minutes. I'm not saying feature focuses need to be that long, but a 5-minute video could have cycled through all the terrain options. As it is, it doesn't really qualify as a feature focus, more like a game quick glance. I think it is a purposeful choice to hide more of Jurassic World Evolution 3 to cater to a player base that doesn't want to get spoiled and wants to be surprised by game features when they get to play it, but I'm not in that camp. I'm in the I need to know everything camp. If you are too, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of the Jurassic World Evolution 3 news. Let's keep analyzing. While raising the terrain is automatically painted and rocks are automatically generated. There is no option in this screen to turn off auto paint, but perhaps the terrain paint tab itself has an on and off switch for that. There's also no toggle for the auto placement of rocks, so maybe that is under the rock tab? If that is the case, that is weird and user unfriendly to put them there. If these feature toggles aren't under different tabs, then disappointingly, we wouldn't be able to deactivate these options, and the game decides when and where to generate rocks. In a past clip, we've seen them alter the terrain with the rocks not appearing for most of it, only when the brush skims along the map border. I also noticed that the rocks only generate at the bottom of the elevated terrain in both clips. We've seen it work differently before, with the rocks generating evenly on the side walls. These are the same exact tools used, but with different effect. I've seen it suggested before that the rocks auto-generate when the terrain has been previously painted with a rocky texture. Aside from this also being user-unfriendly, this is sand. And this is also sand. So, do rocks generate on everything except grass? It would have been nice if this feature focus had just made it clear how and when the rocks auto-generate. Anyway. Even though they regrettably don't show us the tab with the terrain paints, we do see several of the different textures in this shot. By my count, we see 7 or 8 different textures. Grass, the darker, shorter grass, reddish dirt, dark brown dirt or rock, white sand, shale, the only good thing about Penna making a return, and either a darker sand and a rocky texture, or these two are one and the same terrain paint. I don't think we'll ever see, for example, snow available on a tropical map or a desert map, but the current game has 6 options per biome, so this is an expansion at least. Moving on to the next shot, we then see them use a brush that places rocks on the inclines and foliage on the flat areas. This is a brush type we've seen used in the very first trailer. Rocks and foliage with only one swipe is gonna be really helpful in making an environment come to life without spending hours on it. Of course, if you want to spend hours, you can. We get a glimpse at the huge amount of individually placeable foliage that is in the game, and this gets me back to my happy place. Look how many different types of just palm trees we have, and as shown off, all these plants can be resized to make each even more versatile. Thankfully, there is a search bar at the top. I don't know what this icon means though. Let me know in a comment if you have an idea. What I'm missing right now is a favorites area where you can quickly access your favorited plants and other decorations. Speaking of other decorations, look at all these tabs. We've seen this shot before, but I've never actually looked at it in depth, so indulge me. I think this is what each of the categories mean based on the icon. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the upcoming feature focus for modular building will click through a couple of these tabs to give us a sneak peek at the decorations. Now let's dive into the deep water.
And it's not just the land to think about. Add shallow or deep water to form lakes and even waterfalls for your guests and dinosaurs to enjoy. With all these tools, you can create beautiful natural enclosures and spectacular sights within your parks. Be sure to watch the rest of our modules for further training on managing your parks.
While placing the deep water, something weird is happening where this patch of sand isn't getting filled with water, even though the brush does move over it. Intensity is at the max, so I'm not sure why this sandbank remains dry, even when the radius of the brush starts to affect the palm trees behind it. Unfortunately, just like with the showcase of the terrain manipulation, they leave us with just about as many questions as answers. One thing we can answer though has to do with the waterfalls. In the first trailer, we saw them create a waterfall and the water looked very smooth. We saw the same thing in this extra clip. Smooth.
Smooth.
Then in this footage they released later, the waterfalls look a lot more rough.
Rough. Smooth. Rough. Smooth.
I thought, oh, nice, they've upgraded the waterfalls. They look a lot better now. Eagle-eyed people in my comment sections, though, pointed out that the smooth waterfalls were generated with the use of the shallow water tool, and the rougher waterfalls were generated by the deep water tool. That kind of variety and control would have been a cool feature, but alas, this clip of a rough waterfall being generated by the use of the shallow water tool shows that the difference is in fact a case of the waterfalls having been improved, as Frontier has been tinkering away at the game during development. And the waterfalls really did get a glow up. Or should I say, flow down? I'm very sorry. This tool doesn't just let us create epic waterfalls, but also river rapids sections. I've been pretty critical of the feature focus this time around, and I'm not done yet. But I cannot stress enough just how incredible this waterfall feature is and how happy it makes me. This is a game changer and I cannot wait to play around with this in my parks. Okay, last gripe I have with this feature focus. While I appreciate another shot of the Spinosaurus swimming, why the Spinosaurus again? This would have been the perfect moment to reveal another species that has the ability to swim. Either a new species they haven't shown yet, or if the T-Rex can swim, show that! Or show us the baby Spinosaurus at least. 3 options that would have created so much hype. But they went with the one option, showing the Spinosaurus again, that's nice, don't get me wrong. I saw this shot and I said out loud with embarrassing glee, oh, we have a thumbnail, ladies and gentlemen. But in an alternate universe, this would have at least been the Baryonyx, or a T-Rex, or have a baby Spinosaurus swimming alongside it. Just a missed opportunity. I think of literally every animal we've seen the adult version of, we've also seen the baby version. So it does start to feel like they're edging us, by not showing the baby Spino yet. I feel like I'm being punished, and I know why, but I don't like it. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, stay tuned for more.